Welcome to episode 2, season 2, even though last week was supposed to be season 2, and I'll explain why we had to move into this week. Welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of Him and Her Talk Space, where you have 2 life coaches in one space with 0 reservations. I am your resident Him life coach, certified life coach, certified cognitive behavioral practitioner, certified psychoanalyst, and licensed minister, Chad Nails. And as always, I have my fantastic co-host,
Nini Wyndham. I have a psychology degree.
Do all of it.
And I have my master's credits in marriage and family therapy. And I am also the owner and operator of the Essence of Her life coaching services for women. So here we go.
And human resource specialist.
And human resource specialist, yes, of 18.
I'm in the right place then.
I'm telling you, we do it up here.
I'm actually going back to school for psychology, so.
Are you? Good.
Let's go. Join the tribe.
I'm home. Exactly. I'm home taking care of my son, so you know.
Good for you.
What it is.
Yep, good for you.
I love it. If you are joining us tonight, then y'all are ready to talk about sex and intimacy, because that's what we got on deck tonight. The importance of sex and intimacy in relationships, what it is, what it ain't, what we can do with it, how we can cultivate more, and how we can avoid the bad shit. Y'all ready? I'm ready. All right. First and foremost, first question up at bat, I'm going to toss it out to you, and this is an open forum. Y'all chime in. We do not, because of this new format, we do not have the chat function, which means if there's something that you would like to let us know, you are actually going to have to come on camera and say it. Not exactly come on camera. Right. You can turn your camera off. You totally have that option. But that means you're going to have to talk. And that's what we want.
Right.
All right. First question up. Simple question. What is sex and what is intimacy to you?
Well, for me now, at this age, at 40 and going into my spiritual journey, sex is an energy transfer for me. And how I feel about intimacy and sex, it should only be with one person. That you are literally sharing your life force energy and your heart, your soul, and you're reciprocating that with the person that you choose to be with. And for me, that person has to be on the same wavelength and has to be positive in order for it to be balanced. Because if somebody's having a lot of negativity in their life and they're very negative, they're going to mess up your whole aura. So for me, I can't. It's all about energy transfer as far as sex. As whereas before, when I was young and popping and didn't give a daggone, you know, it was just something to make me feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's just.
I was thinking the same thing. I was reflecting and thinking about the past and thinking about the same thing. Like, girl, you was loose.
Yeah, you just want to get a rub out. You want to get that itch scratch, right?
And then now I'm like,
I love
you ain't coming back, don't touch me.
Okay, you know I'm bored. I don't mean to be abrasive, so please, nobody take me out of context. That's just who I am.
This is part of why I invited you, because I knew what I was going to get. I knew what I was going to get. That's why I fucking love you.
For me, sex and intimacy are definitely 2 different things. For me, on a most basic level, it's all energy transfer. But I think for me, what it comes down to is intimacy involves a certain amount of vulnerability. And it also for me,
Yes.
and involves a certain amount of spirituality. There's a spiritual connection with the person that I choose to be intimate with. You know, the sex in itself, either way I look at it, in my opinion, it's an energy transfer. But how deep that energy transfer goes, does it go to a spiritual level? That would be with someone that I'm intimate with, that I feel safe with, that I can be vulnerable with, that I trust. And so it takes on a deeper meaning for me than just a sexual act. Now, I mean, I can, you know, we can have, you know, sex, we can fuck with, you know, with an intimate partner. You know, sometimes, you know, you just want to do that, you know, and that's all good. But again, for me, there is deeper layers to this with an you know, being intimate with someone than there is just on a sexual, you know, hit it and quit it, or, you know, friends with benefit type of thing, or, you know, casual, whatever you want to call it. There is definitely different levels to it for me.
All right. Much appreciated. Wonderful, bold-faced answers. I love it. I love all of it. Anybody else want to go before I give my masculine take on it, since I'm the only one holding it down for the men in the room right now, which is fine because I got enough personality to do it.
I just want to say that, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I just want to say, simply for me, sex is physical and intimacy is emotional. And I think that a lot of times people get it confused. It could be as detailed as the other two women have said, and it maybe feels a little bit different for the individual. But for me, sex is a physical act that people put a lot of effort into, and they miss out on the intimacy. And I guess it would kind of go into what the last person just said, is that I don't want to use the word she used, but it could go into if you just want that type of, you know, I guess relationship is, and you just want to have like friends with benefits, I guess is what I want to say. Because I want to be mindful of how I'm saying it. Then that's fine. You just want sex. But if you want a different level of connection, I guess I would say that's intimacy. In my opinion.
I got you. I definitely get what you're saying there. All right, Mimi, get your quick take before I launch.
Sure. I think I'm on the same page with everybody, bits and pieces from everybody else. I think as far as intimacy could be whatever that looks like for you. So if for me, I feel intimate if maybe we're just sitting on the couch and watching TV together and we're in the same room. That's intimacy. Or if we go out for dinner or to the movies or something like that and we spend that quality time together. So for me, intimacy could just be as simple as spending quality time together, and that's it. Whereas obviously sex is the more physical. But I think that you don't necessarily have to be sexual to be intimate with someone. So that's my take on it.
I agree. I think in terms of like intimacy is about the intention. Because like you could be sitting on the couch watching a movie with someone, and your intentions is just for it to be like a platonic, you know, thing. But then if your intention is to sit on the couch and have a deeper connection with someone, then that's when I think it would be defined as, well, how I would define it as intimacy. Is the intention behind the interaction.
I hear you on that. Well, I'm a guy, and I don't agree with none of y'all. I'm a guy and I don't agree with none of y'all. I'm just trying to get my shaft out. I'm sorry. No, that's that. I'm lying when I ask you. Honestly, speaking from my position, I can agree with a lot of you guys. When I was younger, I was like, look, it ain't even about all that emotion stuff. I like what I like. You gonna give it to me or not? You know, for the most part.
I'm laughing because that sounds like my ex-husband. I like what I like.
Oh damn! Okay,
so go get what you
let me
want.
switch it up. That shit. Okay.
Oh.
Sorry.
But I can definitely say that earlier than a lot of my male peers, I started to understand the importance of the other aspects that surrounded sex, and honestly, I developed this belief that it can't be just physical. There is some mental or emotional involvement in there. It's even if you don't want to acknowledge it, there's something that happens beyond the physical for it, and that led me to want a higher quality of that experience, not just in terms of the physical act, but the intimacy that does surround it. When I was younger, I thought sex and intimacy were absolutely interchangeable, and I grew a little bit wiser and realized that no, it's not. There's one inside of the other. Sex is within the realm of intimacy, not the other way around. Now I'm very picky. I'm actually as a dude, I'm actually very picky about it. You could be the finest woman, and Nina, you've heard me say this before. You could be the finest woman in the room, but if the vibe ain't right, I'm not going to want to touch you. You may want it, and I could be like, "Yo, your aura's off. I see what you have. Everybody sees what you have." But and then the question that I have is like, okay, what else after that? Because if that's all you're offering, you're not. There's literally 1,000 other women in the vicinity that have what you have. What else are you going to offer me? Are you going to give me? Do you just want me to have the physical experience and that, or do you want to go beyond that? If you don't, then we're misaligned. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't make me better than you. It just means that we're not going after the same things. And because of that, no, you get no dick. No dick.
You're not in alignment, basically.
All right. So I love that. I love that a lot. Second question: what value do you place on intimacy specifically? Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10.
Value for me, it has to be a 10 on everything.
I hear that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think intimacy for me is even more important than sex, because like you said, you can walk around and get it wherever you want, but can you provide that intimacy? Can we have a deep conversation? Is what's important to me. So
I am so with you there. I'm a huge sapiosexual now.
Me too.
That's how big I literally stop it.
What'd you say?
I'm a sapiosexual.
Yeah.
Listen,
with that.
I'm a Leo, and I was married to a Scorpio. We're both very sexual creatures. Oh yeah. The sex is great. Don't get me wrong. The sex is amazing.
I got you.
But can you physically fuck my mind?
Hey.
Excuse my French. You know what I'm saying?
There's nothing to excuse here. Go ahead.
It gets to a point where, mind you, he's almost 50 and I'm 40. I didn't get past him, and unfortunately, that's the sad part, because I like older men because you can learn a lot. Now it's at the point where I'm like, okay, so I've learned all I can from you, and you're not fulfilling me on a broader spectrum. You can only give to me sexually, whereas I'm not giving to him on a sexual level because that's not all I want. You know? After 13 years, you gotta let it go, because this is not a match anymore. It's sad, but I believe in having full intimacy on every level. I want to travel. I want to do things. I like doing different things. I'm into the arts. I'm into a lot of different things, and you're not into that. So that is huge on my intimacy level. Like
I got you.
Everything else. I don't want to just open my legs. Who does that anymore?
Right.
Not at this age, anyway.
So talk about it.
Yeah.
Talk about it. It makes me wish we had some younger people on here to talk about their unique experience, because it's even for us to say what we used to do when we were young.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are at that age now, the rules are different for them now.
Yes and no, because I have a full, almost 20-year-old son. My son is 19, and he's a sapiosexual. My son is very woke.
Okay.
I'm very proud of him. My son is a very handsome boy, and yeah, he can bag whatever he wants, but if your mind ain't right, he's not fucking with you.
Okay.
He's very intellectual. He's not doing it. He don't care. And I'm kind of like, okay, because you don't get that much in young men.
I'm personally happy to hear that.
I'm happy to hear that myself, but I mean, like, you know, I expected it to be the opposite, but you know how that goes.
Well, see, I got a 19-year-old, and he is the opposite.
There it is.
I mean,
There it
it's
is.
typical at that age, right?
And I'm sitting there like my sister called me, and she was like, "Now don't get mad, because like I'm in South Jersey and he's in North Jersey because he works at the post office." So she's like, "Don't get mad." I'm like, "About what?" And she's like, "Messiah went to a hotel." I was like, "And you let him?" She's like, "Well, he's 19 and he's. What am I gonna do?" I was like, "Put your foot down."
She can't stop him, sis. She can't
Wait,
stop him, I promise you.
So what type of shit were you running up there?
So you running up there?
What type of shit was she running up there? So I was like, "Well, what girl is this?" He was like, "It's a new one." I'm like, "A new one?"
That's all right. That sounds about right.
It's all right.
That sounds about right.
And then in my mind, I'm thinking, like, what type of energy is going on here? What type of energy does she have? And I'm like, is she a hoe for him? Isn't she a hoe for somebody else? No, I said not hoe. I said if she's easy for him, she can be easy for somebody else. So I was just sitting there thinking that, and I was like, you know, thinking about, you know, is he protecting himself and all that other stuff. But more so, I was thinking about, like, what is he craving something and using those promiscuous behaviors to compensate for something? I want to know. So
I get that.
As a mother of a son, of 3 sons, I would say just put yourself back in his shoes and when you were that age.
Oh, I was
you know, that's all I can say. No, I'm so serious.
That's a pot calling the kettle.
I'm saying, listen, we can't live in glass houses and throw stones, right?
I'm saying, like,
listen. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm lucky. Knock on wood. I'm not getting my karma. Cause
Kanisha used to sit there and be like, another one?
And another one.
Well, for me,
you know?
for me, what I I think as I got older, what I first had to understand is there's different types of intimacy. So when you talk about intimacy, you have to be specific because there's spiritual, there's mental, there's physical, and there's emotional. And I think what happens a lot of times is, especially when we're younger and we're dumber and we're not wise, we think physical intimacy equates to, especially in women, we think if we can throw it to him and hook him that way, then that's going to draw him in emotionally. And it's not. Because,
Correct.
And I think that's where the crossing of the wires goes, because while he's all into the physical intimacy, the woman is really using he uses the physical intimacy to hook her emotionally.
Right.
She, you know, and so, you know, she gets hooked emotionally and she thinks that he's hooked emotionally and he's really not. So as I got older, I had to understand the differences in intimacy. That just because we have a 10 out of 10 sexual experience doesn't mean that I'm emotionally, mentally, or spiritually connected to this person. So I had to decide for myself what was more important for me. And at this stage of my life, physical intimacy is not at the top of my list. It's not. It's more about the spiritual connection, the emotional connection, the mental connection, and then the physical connection. Because, today or tomorrow, if his dick doesn't work or I get sick and we can't have sex anymore, then what relationship do I have if it's all based on physical intimacy? Now, if we have an emotional connection and we have a spiritual connection and we have a mental connection, then you can rock with that. Then the physical connection, you can take it for wherever it is. But at this stage in my life, I realized that physical intimacy is not going to keep or sustain a relationship. Sure, you can start a relationship with banging sex, absolutely. But are you going to maintain a relationship just off of banging sex? No. Not for me at this stage in my life. Absolutely not. And there are times when, even the emotional, mental, and the spiritual, they kind of, they're in competition with one another, in the sense of, I'm feeling emotional now, so I need more emotional connection from you. I'm in my spiritual zone, so I need to connect with you more on a spiritual level right now. So I don't think it's a constant. I think there's an ebb and a flow, but certainly knowing the differences and the intimacy that I require at any one, any point in time is really important, because therefore I can cut out the confusion in my own self and in what I'm expecting from a relationship. Because if I really need emotional intimacy, but I'm trying to get it through sex, that's not gonna work. But I think it's going to work, but it's not going to work.
What I'm about to say next is, and I see you, Faye. What I'm about to say next is probably going to piss off a lot of brothers who are either watching this or are going to see this later. At no point in time in your age, and this is coming from a man who's been around the block at least once, maybe 1.5 times. If you are walking around thinking that you are going to be able to maintain a relationship on any level with just slinging good pipe, I'll be the first man. I might be the first man to tell you it is not true. It is not true, because of the fact that even though we are wired a little bit differently than our women counterparts, we are still human beings, and because of that, we have all these other facets to us that still have to be addressed. There is still a social facet that has to be addressed. There is still an emotional facet that has to be addressed. There is still a mental aspect that has to be addressed, a spiritual aspect that has to be addressed. And for you to walk around thinking that you can survive just off of one dimension, that's like saying you can survive just off of eating bread. Yeah, it's possible, but you probably lose your mind doing it. So let that marinate for the men that are watching or who will be watching later. Don't walk around here thinking that slinging good dick, or just because she got a fat ass and juicy tits and all the other fun stuff, that's going to be something that's going to be able to maintain you. If that's the case, every beautiful woman, every woman that was considered beautiful would be in a long-term and fulfilling relationship. And society and life tells us that is absolutely not the case. All right, Faye, I saw your hand up. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Faye.
Hi, my Catfish Junior. Chad. Okay, so I'm gonna try to talk around because I have the kids here. But the young lady who was talking. I'm sorry.
I said just use code words.
Yes. What the young lady was saying before, she hit the nail right there, and I feel the same way, the exact same way. Actually, I have mixed feelings, and I'm gonna say what I have to say because y'all was talking raw. Not that I'm gonna be talking raw, but I'm at this point in my life, and I think it stems from other things. At my age, and you would think, dang, she's young, and I don't even care about it. Sorry to say, but it's from what the lady was saying. If you do not have some of those things, especially the emotional, it's not about just the physical. And like she said, that's not on the top of my list. Maybe for the other person it is, but it's really not. And if you don't have, my thing is the spiritual part, the emotional part. You look for those things. If that person is not giving you the emotional support that you need, you're going through stuff and that person is not there, like, and you also have to be here with it mentally because it impacts everything else. And it becomes a turnoff. Like, you don't have the desire is lost. Can you get it back? It can, because both people have to try to work on was lost and trying to build that part up about it. But it can't just be about that. And not saying that's like that for everyone, but maybe in our younger days, that was all well and good, for the feeling, trying to satisfy that feeling that you have going on. But it's more than just that feeling. I don't want to spill everything out, but only God knows. But
this is the place to do it. So
that I'm just saying. You just, those pieces have to be taken into to consideration. But once again, one person can feel that way, and maybe for the other person, maybe it's just the physical, or maybe they don't know how. Maybe it was some things in their past that hinders them where they're not able to, show the affection in some ways.
Bad behavior.
So I'm with that. That's my spill on that one.
I'm with that.
Just wanted to add something.
Because I thought I was feeling by myself. I heard that. I was like, wait a minute. That's how I feel. Exact same way.
And can I just add something? Yeah. Chad, I want to applaud you for being able to say that to the brothers. And what I realized, well, at least in myself and in my experience, what happens is we're not mature. We're not mature. We're not spiritually mature. We're not emotionally mature. We're not mentally mature. It's easy to be mature sexually because, your hormones kick in and blah, blah, blah. You got the organs, so that's the easiest part to use.
Yep.
But the other parts of you actually have to mature. And unfortunately, and a lot of us, we never get to maturity. So we are indeed little children running around in adult bodies trying to play adult.
Let's talk about it.
And just causing disaster and trauma and wounds. We got a trail of bodies. Because, it's not just because we are causing so much harm to people, but we are not self-aware enough to realize, I'm so immature. It's not funny. Because I don't know about an emotional, spiritual, or mental, like what's that? The only thing I know is to lead with my genitals. And again, the hope is in your journey, you get to a point where you realize, oh yeah, the genital thing, that's not the end all and be all. But for a lot of, and I can't even just say men, because women fall into this trap also. But you know, we just think, you know, if the sex is good and we're compatible or, you know, whatever, you know, he's, like you said, he's got the golden rod and she's got the golden box. That is going to solve an issue. Listen, Beyonce got cheated on and Halle Berry got cheated on. So if it was about, you know, being beautiful or your member or, you know, your organ being made out of gold, then they would have never got it cheated on. So it's gotta be something more than that.
Yep.
But unfortunately, a lot of us don't get to the point of maturity to really understand and understand what it takes to be intimate on other levels. So that's my 2 cents.
Got it. Cookie, you up? Go ahead.
I'm not sure if someone said this because I walked away for just a little bit, but do any of you feel that maybe opening yourself up and, you know, being vulnerable with it, you know, through your intimacy, like do you feel like the sex part, like I think somebody kind of tapped into it, like the sex part is easy because you've done it so much. So it becomes like something that you just know how to do it. You know how to throw your leg up, you know how to do it, all these different dog, you know, styles or whatever. But when it comes to the intimacy part, like Bella said, is that you have to be able to open yourself up and be connected, not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And then some people have gone through so much like trauma, whatever it may be, not even just sexual trauma, so much trauma that they're not able to, they kind of mask it. They allow the sex to mask, or I don't know if that's the right word, mask what they really, you know, are feeling. Some people won't tell you that they would rather be held than, you know, go 45 minutes with just having sex. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that a lot of times people use sex as a way to cope with what they don't want to deal with, which is being vulnerable, if that, you know, makes sense.
And then thinking about from I guess a chemical or biological perspective, you release certain chemicals like dopamine,
hormones
in your brain. So just like a person who's addicted to a drug, or if just like take addiction out of it, but a person who has a positive response to the chemical response that a drug or whatever that releases that gives, you know, why wouldn't you want to feel that way? It's just the added layer of the traumas and things that people may not be able to distinguish that they're associating these good feelings with some toxic behaviors.
You got
that. That's when you turn into a sex addict and you just having sex just to be having sex with just random people.
Just the high, just for the high.
Just for the high.
And can I throw something out there too? And,
absolutely right.
And speaking of intimacy and that connection, and what Cook had stated, that sometimes that could be a way of how they know how to communicate. Because I was never given the affection as a child, so I don't know how to show my emotions through that intimacy. So in my head, intimacy and sex are connected. So that's my way of showing, or that's my way of telling my story. That's the way saying that I need to be held. I want to be comforted by having sex, as opposed to just saying I need a hug. But that way of communicating, and that also stems from how we goes back to childhood. How were you shown that affection from your parents or from your parent figure when you were a child? And did they show you how to hug and how to, you know, spend quality time and stuff like that? Or were you plopped to the side and you didn't matter? So in order for you to get that love and that attention that you didn't get as a child, you go and you throw yourself on people so that you can get that back. And that equates to your intimacy.
And it goes back to what Bella said too. I'm sorry, Chad.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to say, piggyback off of what Bella said too. I think she said something along the lines of, as you mature, I mean, it's kind of like, remember when you first had your first sexual encounter? Like, you don't know what you were doing. You may have seen something on a video, or, you know, heard your girlfriends talking about it or whatever. I know that's how I was. I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really know much about the sexual act. And even like having an orgasm, like how many women don't have orgasms? Like, I'm not going to say too much, not too many people on here know, you know, my husband or whatever, but I didn't experience that until I met my husband. But it was the way that it was not only what he did, not the sexual act, it was like a more of like a understanding of like, I'm not going to just jump into bed with you, make sure that I'm able to, you know.
He learned you.
Yes, and he would wait, and he would, you know what I'm saying? Like like what Bella said, and you as well, in terms of like that connection, understanding each other's bodies. But that wasn't something that I knew very early on. I was just having sex and didn't know what I was doing. Very immature, I think, is what Bella used the word immature, and also communicating when you're like, I don't want to give it away, but like if you're like 19, 18 years old having sex, like, are you really that well informed about what you really want? What makes your body feel good? No. And then those that are, well, good for you, because I know that I was not, and I didn't experience that well into my my late mid to late 20s, but you could also have a selfish partner, because if you're having, and I think that also goes back to the intimacy part too, like the actual orgasm is a part of the sexual act, but isn't that also tied into the intimacy part of it? Because you could be all riled up and your husband at work, you can't wait till he gets home, because you've already set the tone for maybe the night before, that morning when he smacks you on your bottom, like, girl, I'm gonna tear you up when I get home. And then you have that time to kind of like build all that up. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's how, maybe I'm too passionate, but that's how it can sound.
All of you, absolutely all of you touched on a point that I was going to say before we went to the next part, and that was that letting somebody new in, and that was that how many of us can say that we had that the other part of that talk, when we were in our formative years? How many parents can you say that that are talking to their kids about something aside from don't run around kissing boys, or don't run around kissing girls, or this, that, and the third, that are actually talking to them about their emotional health, or talking to them about their mental health, even before they get to that stage where they hit puberty, and then the biological part kicks in, and then the hormones are raging, and you go insane for a hot second, or a hot couple of years, however you manage it and stuff like that. But
don't get me started.
You know what I'm saying? All of y'all know what I'm saying.
I cried when I found out my first son lost his virginity, so and
right,
I didn't even get a chance to have a talk.
My first experience when I got to that climax, I thought I was about to die. I thought I did something totally wrong. So I said, whoa, wait a minute.
Listen.
All right, but I also didn't have that level of connection or communication where I could go back to my parents and be like, yo, this happened. Mm-hmm. What is this? And they have the wherewithal. Thank God I learned from the mistakes that I had, from the missteps that I had in my formative years, where even for my children being 9 and 7, I'm having to talk to them like, do you understand this part about your body? Do you understand that you can talk to me about anything and everything that is happening with you right now, or that is going to happen? And I've been building up on that, and but how many of us can say that we had or know parents that are doing that? And part of that, the formative years, I'm hearing everybody talking about something that did or didn't happen in their formative years, and like, that's so crucial. That's so ridiculously crucial. I actually just got a new client last week, and I'm touching into their communication style, and that borders on not even borders, it goes heavily into what we're talking about right now, where they're abstinent and because they're scared of going back into their previous cycle of only using sex to communicate instead of touching on those other facets of themselves and being able to cultivate those other facets of themselves, and so on. So I wanted to put that out there before we launched into the next part. Hi, Felicia. How are you? I'm so
well,
glad
how about
you jumped on. It's always wonderful to see you. Glad that you jumped on.
Here. Yes.
All right.
For this
I was hoping it was another guy jumping on because I'm still holding him down. Not that I'm scared of y'all or nothing like that, but I'm just saying. I'm saying. All right, next question. Similar question. Scale of 1 to 5 for the whole room. 1 being not important at all, and 5 being very important. How important is the act of sex for you right now?
Right now?
Right now. Not now, but right now.
0.
Right now?
I ain't even give right now. Not now, but right now.
I'm pretty much at a 0 right now.
I ain't even give you that as an option, but okay.
No, me too. Or 1 if 0's not an option.
I mean, unless it's with myself, then but other than that, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need no emotional stress.
I hear that. I hear that. We got zeros. We got zeros. Anybody want to go to negative numbers? I will say, it is not for. I will say, holding it down for the guys, and they can call me. Y'all know I don't care what anybody said about me. They gotta be brothers that are ready to call me a simp for this, but it is me speaking my truth. It is not first on my list right now. It is not first. It is not. How you treat me is first.
Exactly.
Oh, go ahead, Chad.
How you treat me is first. Because if you don't treat me well, I'm not gonna want to do nothing with you. Mm-hmm. How you engage me is what's going to be either the cultivator or the detractor for me wanting to give myself to you, or me even wanting. So yeah.
I think that's important, and I really do appreciate you for saying that, because you know what? I've been around a lot of men and experienced a lot of men that can't even open up to say that their wants and needs are important and not just massive with sex. You know what I'm saying? And I'm around a lot of macho men, especially in my family. Like, it's sad how men can't just speak up and really be openly emotional with their partner. Mm-hmm. Who else you gonna be emotionally open with? You can't do it with your boys.
No, they'll clown you for that.
Exactly. So why not talk to your woman about these things? But
ideally, that's supposed to be the environment that you can do that in. Ideally, that's supposed to be the environment that you do that in.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, like, I teach my boys that, you need to be open as far as communication with a woman, but, they're being raised by a different woman.
There you go.
Whereas in our generation, most women really, not most, I'm going to say a percentage of women were not really teaching their sons that they can be emotional with women.
Right.
Yeah. And they didn't have that opportunity because the fathers that we grew up with were so macho, they wasn't having it.
Right.
No.
There's a lot of interference, and it goes vice versa. You know what I mean? Because I understand men don't want their boys to be babied, but in the same token, how you expect your son to treat a woman? He doesn't learn from a woman.
That's one extreme. You can't put him at one extreme or the other. My father, God rest his soul, I had to have some of these talks with him where he's thinking he doesn't have these options, and I'm like, yes, you do. You haven't used them often. It's like not using a muscle in a while. You haven't used it. You haven't cultivated it. But here's what you can do. And my mother can be a testament to say my father grew to become more expressive. Not just in terms of being happy or sad or angry, but in being able to cultivate an environment with her where deeper and more nuanced levels of communication was possible.
Yeah, it's like rewiring the brain, basically.
Exactly.
Because each generation had a different way of being. So, our generation, I honestly think that we started breaking the mold
I would
of
say that.
everything. Whereas the
I can
new
agree with that.
generation, they're going to be a lot more exposed than all the other ones before them.
Yes. I agree with that. Absolutely. Anybody else want to throw some crazy numbers at me? What's the importance? What's the importance of sex in your life right now?
For me, I've been celibate for almost 5 years, so it doesn't have any importance at this point.
You okay?
Okay, you okay?
I'm sorry. You know I messed with y'all. I'm sorry. You okay, baby?
I mean, I done fell off the wagon a couple of times, but he said 5 years.
Almost 5 years. And the funny thing is that the person I lost my virginity to, he reached out via Instagram. We've been chatting, and we actually went out on a date and everything like that. And I just sit back and I just I had this little coy smile where I'm thinking about how I used to be so crazy and cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for that dude, and then
that's Cocoa Puffs.
And now he's it's like the roles have reversed, and I just don't care. You would have to come.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could definitely relate to that.
Yeah, I used to be crazy, and then now I'm just he's like, when can I see you? When you see me.
Hey.
I'll let you know.
When you see me.
You know you blue balling this man, right? You do know you're blue balling him, right? I hope he's okay.
And I'm feeling I'm such a different person now. You would have to have, we said something about the intimacy and conversation and things like that. You would have to. I'm absolutely in no rush, none whatsoever. And then another dude. It's so weird because this all happened most recently that I used to deal with years ago. We connected, and it's he'll send text messages. Oh, what are you wearing? And I just ignore it. I'm like, all right, that does nothing for me. Right. Nothing at all. I've gotten dick pics. I'm just sitting here do they really think that does something?
For some reason they do. I leave them on red, girl. Or you get blocked real quick.
I've developed a philosophy on dick pics. I've developed one. My rule is I can't even say it's a philosophy. My rule is if you ain't asking for it, I'm not sending it.
Exactly.
Otherwise I can't. Otherwise, that's putting me in a situation where it's I'm assuming, and then my assumption that's me being entitled actually to assume that just because you're talking to me that you want it. If you tell me, I'm feeling you, I want to see your junk, and we have that connection, then I'm like, hi girl, hi girl, but yeah, it's definitely something that has to be. You have to be able to talk about it. You have to be able to. You have to be able to be this is where I'm at, and if they're cool with where you're at and where they're at lines up with where you're at. Again, the main word that I come up with tonight is alignment. If where they're at lines up with where you're at, then cool. If where they're at doesn't, that there should be that there should be that conversation. I had a young man. This was about a quick story. This was a young man that I spoke to. Didn't know him, stranger on the street. We had a conversation that lasted the length of a red light. He was in the car. I was heading home, and he was like, "Yo, let me ask you something." And I was like, I don't have any change. But he's like, I was just talking to this shorty, and she said She didn't, she didn't want to talk to me. I had already taken her out on a date and this, that, and third. She said, she was feeling somebody else and anything like that. I kind of want to go back and cuss her out. What do you think I should do? Big bro. And I'm like, dude, don't even waste your time with that. Don't waste your time and energy needing to go back and cuss her out. Her no left you open for the yes that's coming later. And he stopped and looked at me and was like, yo, that makes mad sense. I could have just, and that was it. I've never saw him again. But to be able to, for me to be in a position to even have that, and when I'm saying this, I'm not tooting my own horn at all. But this goes back to the maturity thing. This goes back to the wisdom aspect that we've been talking about here. You have to put yourself in a position where you can say, where you're not just where you're at, but in a healthy way to be able to say, where you're at and be able to convey that to people, so that they know, so that they, not only leaving you open to be able to, move in the way that you move, but also giving them the ability to make an informed decision about how to move with you or not. Which takes me to our last part. How do we cultivate? What are some ways that we can cultivate more of both intimacy and when we do get to that level, better sex? And I feel like we've kind of already said it, but humor me.
I think time, because if you allow yourself time to get to know the person, then you develop a level of intimacy. You develop a discernment about whether this person is a good fit for you.
Or you can have a.
So I think time is one of the main things. Connecting, seeing if you guys have things that you have in common, seeing if you guys share similar values, things like that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for adding that. Bella, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
To develop intimacy, it takes trust, it takes, vulnerability, it takes many nuanced things. But I really wanted to circle back to what you said, because what you said just disturbed the hell out of me.
Oh.
Because what I heard this young man say to you is he talked about his male privilege. He felt because he spent money on this chick, she didn't have the right to turn him down. Now, where they do that at? Now, they do that a lot.
Yeah.
And see, that's the number one block to intimacy. Because just because you say hello to me, just because you breathe in my direction, you look at me, you spend some money on me, does not mean you own me. So, when these guys don't understand about intimacy, they don't even understand about the male privilege that they are trying to impose on us. That just because you show up doesn't mean I have to say yes to you. So we can't even get to intimacy when you feel like just because you holler at me or show me some attention. And I'm sure, plenty of women in this chat have experienced that, where it even gets to the point where you don't feel safe with certain men by telling them no. And I think, that is something that really has to be taught and shared in the male community, that, she doesn't have to reciprocate your advances. Like, she has the she in this equation has the right to say she's not feeling you.
Yeah.
I think that starts
And
at home.
Pretty much.
That starts at home with parenting, where you teach your kids that it's okay to have a no, an answer no, and you're allowed to be rejected at some point in your life. Because if I say you can't have something, that means no is no, and leave it at that, and move on and deal with it. And that's how that goes. But that starts at home. I don't think that's mainly a male community thing. That's a parenting issue. That's how
I agree with the
I agree.
parenting issue aspect of it. But I also want to say that speaks to his immaturity and insecurity also.
Yeah.
Because a mature man would have said, okay, thank you for your time, and he would have went on about his business. And the immaturity of him is because he probably never saw a real man in action to know, exactly what to do. He's just going off of emotion, his immature emotions. And swinging that back to the topic that you had about intimacy.
Yeah.
How can two insecure people be together? That's a recipe for disaster.
It happens.
More than for disaster.
If you don't know yourself, another person, it's two traumatic individuals coming together, and they haven't healed themselves on all levels. Hence why I said I'm going to take my time before I even approach another man, because I know I came out of something toxic. You understand? And everybody has wounds from every relationship. And if you don't understand that you have issues coming out of a relationship, and I take 50% of my responsibility for what happened, another person doesn't, and that other person goes into a relationship and don't fix themselves, and that other person that they intertwine with has issues, that's how you get that toxic relationship with two broken people that just mess everything up.
Cookie.
Gotta know yourself.
Go ahead, Cookie.
Yeah, I agree with Bella and Shanita said, the part about it being a parenting thing and being taught at home. But in terms of the the question about how do you, I guess you said, like, how do you get back on track if you kind of fell off? Was that kind of the gist of the question that you asked, Chad?
That does fall inside the context of the question, yes.
I think that, if you've been with a person for a very long time, and I mean, for many people, sometimes, people change. So, the 20-year-old person should be different than the 40-something-year-old person. And that's not just in terms of the way that you think, but the things that you enjoy about your body. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier about when you first have your first sexual interaction, you think you know what you want, and as you maybe have experiences with other people, or learn new things about yourself, or you just mature, you find out that I don't really like that anymore. Like, sucking my toes was okay, but now it needs to be a little bit, it needs to be something different. So I think that we have to be kind to one another. And I'm gonna say
sorry.
this.
I'm too passionate about this issue. Y'all just leave me alone, okay?
What about the toe issue,
ma'am?
Well, I think that we have to be kind, and we have to be, honest with one another. And it goes right back to what Bella was saying when she talked about being able to communicate. I think that what the issue is, people don't want to communicate. People just want to jump into bed, jump into the sack, and they think that that's going to clear everything up. And I think that sometimes people feel very uncomfortable talking about sex and the things that they like, because they may feel like, you may appear wholesome and humble, you may be a little free, and then so you don't know how that person may, receive or accept what you like. So I think that over the course of time, if you've been with the same person, or if you have not been with the same person, and you find that there are things that you did like and no longer not like, and things that you need, you have to be able to open up and express to that person or persons what it is that you want to happen to your body. And you have to take into consideration that as you get older, You know, some of us are almost hitting 50. Some of us are already there. I'm talking about from a woman's perspective. Your body changes. You could be in perimenopause. You could be in menopause. And your partner needs to understand and at least be willing to speak about the changes that you may experience because they are very real. And the same for a male. As you get older, I don't know. I'm not a man. You may change. Maybe you can't keep an erection very long. I don't know. But your partner shouldn't be like, oh, you know, we have to talk about, well, how can we keep that erection? What do I need to do? Do I, you know, like.
Well, I got natural remedies for that, so.
And so then we need to do something to Nita about the natural remedies so that we can have a long lasting.
Like I said, I've been in a 13-year relationship with an older man. So, you know, I love you enough that I'm not going to step out and go find me somebody that's young and piping, because I love you and I know you got me how I need to be got. So we're going to fix this and we're going to rectify this situation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I will do my research so we can continue to do what we do. But, you know, yes, hit me up if you need it.
I can definitely attest. I can definitely attest that when I went in it.
Yeah.
Some people are not mature enough to say that, you know, people, and especially when it comes to a man, I guess Shaq can speak from that perspective, like, you know, and a woman too, like if you're not able to perform sexually because of something that's really out of your control, I mean, does that really speak to your partner and how much of your well-being and they haven't, you know, they're taken into consideration? Like, you know, what if you had a partner?
A lot of people won't. A lot of people won't take it into consideration because a lot of people don't feel comfortable, like you said. And honestly, I feel that, like, if this is the person you want to be with for the rest of your life, you should know your partner and what's going on with your partner, whether they say it or not. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're supposed to know them on every level. And if you see something is going on, okay, let's have a conversation, because you know he's not going to open up. And you come at him in a soft approach. That's and right. Be like, you know, honestly, I noticed this, that, and the third. How are you feeling? Like, you want to discuss it? And if he's not open to it, then okay. If he is, then even better. You know what I'm saying? I feel you have to make that man feel comfortable enough that he can open his mouth on that. Because most men don't want to talk about their manhood not working at all. Period. You know what?
But can I say one more thing? Can I say one more thing and then I'm done?
Okay.
Also, a man may not want to open up about that, but a woman may not want to open up about how her body has changed too after having children. True. You know, now you got a belly, or your body just changed. It may not be because you're eating everything in sight. It could just be
we all have insecurities.
So that's why I said that we have to be open and honest and sensitive to other people and how they feel. Mm-hmm. Like you're not snapping back like you were when you were 20. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so be kind about that.
Listen, because I'm over here cooking 3-course meals for your butt. What you thought?
Yeah, and eating them too. You know, I was gonna put on a little bit of weight from doing that.
Right?
I know, speaking from a man's perspective, what I wanted in terms of intimacy at 20 is nothing like what I want out of intimacy now at 41. How I made love at 20 is nothing like how I make love now. All right, stuff changed. Stamina levels did some stuff. All right, I became more skillful at stuff. Maybe I threw other stuff away. Stuff that I thought was working, and I realized didn't work for me now. So I found my groove, and it's not the same. And I could be able to, if I'm in a long-term relationship, I should be able to talk about those changes. Shanita and Cookie, y'all brought up great points about, you know, helping to set the environment for the man to be able to talk. I have to give the partner perspective to that. I, as the man, speaking in a general sense for men, I have to have done my work in terms of being able to say or be comfortable with saying it. Before you, because you can make the environment comfortable and I can still be uncomfortable. As a man, I have to be comfortable enough to be like,
amen.
I have to be able to be comfortable to be able to say, look, okay, stuff is changing. I know that thing that you liked me to do 5 years ago, 5 years of change has happened. I might not be able to do that like that. Let's find something that we can, let's find an alternative, you know, or help me get back to that. If it's possible.
That part. I mean, so how would you feel if that was the situation and your woman has as she gets older, her sex drive is increasing, not decreasing, because it does happen.
Oh,
it does
speaking for
happen.
Speaking personally for myself, yay. But it's also, but you know, seriously, it's she comes to me with that, then it has to be a two-way street for that. Just for just for you women talking about setting the atmosphere for the man to be able to come, I have to be able to say to my woman, baby, now let me do it right.
I'm done. I'm faced.
You know what?
Right? He's so extra.
He is.
Baby,
when
I
you
just
said that as a man,
need you to know. I need you to know that you can come and talk to me about anything, baby. What's wrong?
When you said that as a man, you have to be comfortable.
You know, I got to do the LL approach. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
When you said that as a man, you have to be comfortable. So one night I snuck into this men's discussion. I know, hard-headed woman. Oh well. But I snuck into this men's discussion, and they were talking about how men actually do want to talk to women about what's going on with them, but early in their life, they have always been taught, suck it up, don't let them see you cry, don't show emotion. And one man said that has literally scarred him through 3 marriages because that was instilled in him at a young age.
It's a death sentence.
I was getting ready to say it.
It was instilled in him at a slow burning, and because of that, burning poison. 3 marriages.
Wow.
Because he literally could not communicate. He didn't have
take on that. My absolute take on that. It is a slow burning poison. It is a death sentence. And if you don't learn how to suck that poison out, you are done. And you will never be able to achieve what it is that you're going for if you do not do that work. If you do not unlearn, and I'm speaking from personal experience as well, having somebody who has a failed marriage on their belt. If you do not suck out that poison, if you do not figure out what the hell is going on with you and be able to talk about what's really going on with you and be able to talk it out and have a partner that's willing to talk it out with you, you're done. You're done. It's a wrap.
For me, I like the vein of, yes, there has to be the space provided for intimacy to flourish, but at the same time, you can provide that space for that person, but if they're not ready or willing to go there with you, then you're still rowing the boat by yourself. So again, I think we need to, for myself, I had to come realize that, it takes a part. It's going to take for me to be with a partner that's done the same amount of work that I've done, if not more. Yes. Because, at the end of the day, I could be the most, intimate person and sweet and loving and blah, blah, blah. But if he's closed off and walled off and blocked and traumatized and he don't want to have any insight into what's going on with him, and he don't want to talk, and he don't want to go to therapy, and he don't want to do any work, then, okay, I'm in a relationship by myself.
Right.
Let him go.
That is exactly
so, the thing about it is, I feel like, especially as women, we have to be careful about how much responsibility we take on trying to fix grown folks. Okay, because right now I'm very grown. So I'm not a 20-year-old where I got time and the desire and the space to kind of walk you through your immaturity. I don't have that time. I don't have that patience. I don't have that desire. I have done a lot of heavy lifting in my life, and I need someone to show up that has done the heavy lifting and that will continue to do the heavy lifting in order to get us through this journey. Because there's going to be days when I'm funky, there's going to be days when he's funky, and we're going to have to learn how to navigate each other's funkiness. But it can't just be me all the time navigating your funkiness because you don't want to deal with your issues. Like, I'm past that. So I think it's very important, especially as Black women who tend to shoulder a lot in this world, a lot on our shoulders, a lot in terms of relationships and family and the world and that we need to step back and go, oh, you know what? I see who you are. I accept who you are. I'm not fucking with you because you're not bringing what I need, where I am in this moment. You're not there. And it's okay that you're not there. I'm not asking you to change. You don't have to do anything for me. All I'm saying is I need intimacy in my life. I need a man who can talk to me. I need a man that I can trust and that trusts me. I need a man that can deal with me on deeper levels. And if you're not there, homie, it's okay. Go find you someone else that's willing to deal with where you are right now. And if I have to be by myself, which I am, then I'm good.
Absolutely.
I'm
And
good.
that's the best part.
I'm not on here, tripping over not
yourself.
getting some dick. I'm good.
Absolutely.
So,
I felt all of that.
Yeah, it's nuance, but this is just where I am. Listen, I haven't had dick in 5 years. I'm good because I don't want the aggravation.
I hear you.
And I have done the work on myself. I'm not just trying to fall in bed with somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
And then wake up in the morning and go, oh, you know what? I don't even like you. I don't even like you. Yeah, the dick is good, but I don't even like you. I don't like what you stand for. I don't like how you chew. I don't like how you breathe. I don't like how you pick the earwax out of your ear. Like, I don't like you.
Woo, baby. I love it. I love it. I like her. I like her a lot. I felt all that energy because I'm in that moment right now.
And
I'm sorry, Chad.
No, ain't nothing to apologize. Listen, there is nothing to apologize for. This is not a his side, her side thing. Y'all know me well enough to know that the only side that I'm on is that I want to be on is the right side, and that is the fact, and that is the fact of the matter is this: when it boils down to both intimacy and sex, there is so much that hinges on maturity. There is so much that hinges on integrity. There is so much that hinges on being able to communicate well, not just communicate, because yelling is still communication. But being able to communicate well, having somebody that has a flow that's similar to yours, and of course I'm speaking in the ideal case of the long-term relationship, having somebody who has a flow that's similar to yours, it is so crucial. That speaks to flexibility, like I said, maturity, integrity, standing, composure, compromise, negotiation, all of that stuff. It is so ridiculously important to have all of these things, and it is on both men and women to be able to do that. It is not gender specific. It is all gender inclusive. The man has to be able to come to a woman and say, baby, here's where I am. Here's where I am. Here's where I am in this area, this area. This is what I am doing to work on these areas. Are you willing to support me as I work on these areas? If she says no, if she says no, that is no. That if she says no, he should be able to walk off with that. She says yes, God bless y'all too. God bless y'all. Mazel tov. Enjoy yourselves. Similarly, the woman should be able to come to the man and say, baby, here I am in this area, this area, this area, this area, this area. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing to work on it. Are you willing to support me? Are you willing to support me as I work on those things? Dude says yes. Hey, it's a party. You know, and that's really what it boils down to. It really is that simple. We make it complicated. We make it complicated by not unlearning things. We make it complicated by saying we're stuck in our ways and this, that, and the third, and this, and believing that this is how things are supposed to go, and it's not complementary to the relationship that they're in. We make it more complicated by not doing our own work. We make it complicated by unloading our work onto others. We make it complicated by not growing in these areas, not becoming mature. Y'all that have been on the show before, you've heard me say this before. There is a world of difference between growing up and getting older. And the growing up part, is so necessary. It's not just going up in age, it's going up in wisdom, it's going up in understanding yourself, it's going up in understanding how you best relate to others, and then seeking, you know, what's gonna work for you. And that's it. You know, that's my coach's corner moment. All right,
you know what? When people say this is just how I am, take it or leave it, that's a lazy person.
It is. That's a cop out.
That's a red flag. Walk away.
In most cases,
girl, that's not even a red flag. That's a whole red car driving down the street saying warning, warning, warning.
In most cases, I would absolutely agree with you. The only context where I would say that is not a hazard is where it's done in a context where the person is saying, this is what I understand about myself, but there's still the ability to have that conversation and be able to say, like, okay, I understand myself to know where this is flexible or where this is not. That's the only context where I would allow that in, because it's still a conversation. It's not an ultimatum. It's still discourse. So that's right. Somebody get a message. Anyway, let me get out y'all business. Mimi, anything to add? That shit was loud as hell. I'm sorry.
I ain't popping like that.
It wasn't me.
Mimi, anything to add from your coach's corner?
Absolutely. Just to piggyback on what you were saying, you know, and anyone who knows me here knows that I'm big on communication. I think that communicating and talking to your partner about what your likes and dislikes are very important. I think it was Cookie that mentioned it, that if you don't talk to your partner about what you know, I like this, I like that, I don't like it this, or whatever, then you're never going to get to that level of where sex is going to be good or the intimacy is going to be good, because you're not talking about it. Your 20-year-old self is not going to be the same as your 40-year-old self or your 50-year-old self. Your body changes, your needs changes, your desires change. I think also, I'm big on, and I just recently got big on knowing your love language. If you don't know what your love language are, you're never going to be loved correctly. And I think that if you don't learn those, and it's an easy test, it's a 5-minute test for you to find that out, then you can't express that to your partner on, okay, if you're giving me gifts, I'm not a gift person. So if you're giving me tons of gifts and Louis Vuitton and all this, I don't care about that stuff. That means absolutely nothing to me. No, it means nothing to me though when you pick up the trash or when you wash those dishes or when we go out to restaurants and stuff like that, because that's my love language. Yeah. So if you don't know that, if you don't communicate that, that's a part of being a sapiosexual as well. I enjoy conversation. That if you don't know how, if you can't, and I hate to say this, but it's true, it happened. If you can't read a simple menu, it ain't gonna work. Like we can't it's not gonna work. So I think proper communication, and then learning your love language. This way you can express that to your partner it will take you definitely.
You don't usually. You know what?
Like
Really,
message.
you have like a certain time within your questioning.
Who's that?
Why is it?
I don't know, but I can barely hear you.
Who is that?
Tina. So
I
loud.
think Tina. Turn your TV down, Tina.
Like 10, 25. So
Tina.
Tina, you telling on yourself.
703 minus 496.
I'm gonna get her.
I'm 703.
Dini, I'm gonna get my girl cousins to go rock her. I promise you. Anyways, y'all, that is I'm gonna use that. That is pretty much our show for tonight. Thanks to all of you. I knew we was gonna get some combo going with this one tonight. Next week, of course. Wait, before I even do that, as always, we are taking your stories. We are taking your letters asking for advice. Thank you. Ooh, I'm gonna get her. No, I'm not gonna get her. I promise you, I'm gonna get my grimiest girl cousins to go rock. I promise you.
Oh my goodness, I cannot.
Anyway,
that's
y'all leave me alone. Anyways, real fast, just as an end, this show is dedicated to the memory of my father, Willie Samuel Nails, who passed away last Monday. It's been a week. That's actually why we didn't have our show last week. It's been a week, but I'm good. I know where he is, and we settled up our account really, really well. And I'm not letting. She want to come back in. She better turn the TV down. Okay, that's better. But yeah, this what the service was actually today. So we sent him off in style. We laughed. We celebrated. He was a man of service, and in like fashion, I am beyond proud to be his son right now, because he was a man of service and he was a man who loved. And I love doing this, and I love y'all. I love being able to do this with y'all, and I love being of service where we have this opportunity once a week to just come together and hash out some stuff, and maybe we learn something. You know, that's me and Nini's goal. To be able to touch on these issues and be able to have that forum, and hopefully we become better at it, at what we're doing. You know, that's really the whole goal. We are taking your stories that you want us to react to or respond to. We are taking your letters asking for advice. That can be sent to our Gmail at himandherspaces@gmail.com. Not him and her. himherspaces@gmail.com. No and. Next week we have the issue of hypergamy and hyperandry. Is it still relevant? What the hell is it? And are you doing it? So that's gonna be next week. Invite your friends, invite your family, invite your foes, and let's get into it next week.
And what does that mean? Right. What does that mean, Chad?
Hypergamy. Oh, hypergamy. Hypergamy. I'm gonna read it.
Yes.
It is the action. Right there, baby. Hypergamy. It is the action. Y'all know it once I say it. Yeah. Hypergamy is the action of marrying or forming a sexual relationship with a person of a superior sociological or educational background. In simple terms, it's dating up.
Oh, okay, all right.
Dating up, yeah. That you know it as dating or marrying up. So that's
what I was always with the boss.
I'm always a superior person.
Oh shit! Okay. Okay. I see where your stance is going to be next week. Thank you.
I mean, listen, that's my next step.
I got
new tax bracket. New tax bracket.
Y'all come on back next week. Come on back next week. Invite somebody. We'll have the ad up for you guys, and we will see y'all next week on Him and Her Talk Space. Where, as always, we have 2 coaches,
one space,
and 0 reservations.
Thank you, guys.
Right, you guys have a wonderful
Thank you.
It
was nice. It was fun.